Welcome to my session on automated Java upgrades. My name is Luis. I'm a Vienna-based software architect and consultant. And for the past 10 years, I've been working in the field of software modernization exclusively. But what do I mean, or what do you think about the term software modernization? What is it for you? You may think it's the modern front-end technology, or some modern serverless architecture in AWS, or is it your software architecture patterns in your application? That's all true, but when you think of modernization, you have to think of a pyramid. You have on the top, you have your business modernization, your processes, all the things your product owner gives you credit for. So if you tell a product owner we modernize, he wants to see something up there because that's the direct value, so you modernize the value. But in fact, in the mid-level, you have the architecture modernization, so all the things that gets you more scalable, gets you faster to production, turns down the error rate in production. All these things are architecture modernization, and that's also great. And he's actually, or she, is actually willing to pay for architecture modernization because the application gets faster. But what about down here? The technical modernization. Technical modernization, in my opinion, is your basic Java upgrade, as a runtime upgrade, or dependency upgrades. Who of you works in a project where you regularly update your dependencies? What do you think about regular? What do you mean by regular? Monthly. What? Pardon me? Monthly. Monthly. Okay, great. Weekly, anyone? Where do you work? Okay, great. Yeah, it actually depends on your company, of course. If you're in the public sector, it's probably once every 2 years if everything burns, yeah? Like Log4Shell, for example, who lived through Log4Shell. When it popped up a couple of years ago, I was at a customer in the public sector, and they didn't even know which versions of Log4j they were using. So they didn't know which applications were affected and how to fix it. We didn't fix it in 2 weeks, it was half a year, because they were 2 hibernate versions behind. So they couldn't fix it from today and tomorrow. So we need to think about software modernization and our runtimes. What's the traditional solutions? You say you're doing it multiple times a day. How do you do it? Okay, wanna hold my talk? No? Okay. Have you seen my talk? No. So that's awesome, but the traditional process I was living for many, many years was the manual one, and it always started with information gathering. So I had to look up which version of Hibernate, for example, are we using, what's the current version, what's broken in between, and how could we update it. And then we just tried it. We upgraded our version in the POM XML and hoped for the best, and of course, everything was broken. Nothing was compiling, so we start doing manual code changes until it compiles. Okay, great, running our unit tests. Our unit tests fail. Okay, some behavioral changes. We fix those tests. Partly automated tests, partly manual. That was fun at the end, of course. And when everything was through, we could release it. But it was a tedious task, and it took often months. And we tried to automate that. And how are we doing this? The process is very similar, and I'll show you in a minute in detail on hands-on. But essentially, we start our version upgrades with Renovate, as you mentioned. Yeah? So Renovate regularly, and there you have it, many times a day, or at least once a day, looks for new dependency versions. He updates these versions, pulls a feature branch, and in the best case, everything runs through, we're done. And if you do it once a day, with the patch level changes, most likely it will actually run through. But of course, you know you have a major upgrade, for example, so some automated tests fail. Yeah? So you have to do code changes. Think about either a project that has 1,000 microservices, or a larger monolithic application with 10 million lines of code. And you think about the Jakarta namespace change. Very simple thing, actually. Do you want to change the Jakarta namespace in an application with 10 million lines of code? How long do you think it would take? So these things can be automated with OpenRewrite. So you have your automated code changes, and now the automated tests run through, and there are still some things not working. Okay, so we have to do manual fixes. Actually, in my line of work, I very often do not have an operating development environment because I'm not as a software developer in this special application on this team. So what helps me is Red Hat Dev Spaces. It's essentially an environment in a container. So I don't have to have my local runtime and my local developer experience. It's all in the cloud, in the container, and I can do changes, manual changes there. At the end, we have completed our updates and everything works. But as I mentioned earlier, we are at the bottom stage of the pyramid. We are far away from business value. In best case, we spend a lot of money and everything works the same as before. So we have to prove that we made the world better and that the money was spent in the right way. And in my experience, what helps is vulnerability reporting with dependency track. So with vulnerabilities, especially nowadays with NIS2 and DORA, you have to be to a current state with your dependency versions and your runtime. And you have to show that you are, in an ideal world, do not have any CVEs. And you can prove this with dependency track. So after the updates, you are in a better place. Any questions about that? The second tool was OpenRewrite. OpenRewrite. Yeah? We now do a deep dive. I show you a live demo with all these tools and the process, so we can focus on that. Okay, what I got here is a live demo of two applications. One is a Quarkus demo application and a showcase, and the second one would be a JUnit showcase. Let's see how much we can get in today and what you're interested into. Let's start with the Renovate. Who actually knows Renovate and uses it? Okay. Renovate actually doesn't a lot, but it does it very good. It checks for new versions of your dependencies and tries to upgrade them. So essentially, it only does version upgrades in your POM XML, for example, and tries to run them in a feature branch. And if everything runs through, you get a notification, your feature branch can be merged, and you click on a button, and that's that. Or if you are into it, you can let it merge itself. Okay. I don't want to show you lots of code today. It's more about the features you can handle and how you can integrate them. But essentially, what you can see here is that you have this process. Okay, that's refreshing. That's awesome. That runs in GitHub Actions in my case, but that's not important. You can do this on any CI/CD tool you like, any pipeline you like. In our case, I have two projects integrated into it, the Log4j example and the Quarkus example, but it depends on your use case. So if you want to handle different applications in your enterprise differently, you can run multiple instances of Renovate, or you can run one single instance of Renovate for all your applications. So it's your choice. And what it did is with the first repository or a Quarkus project, it actually it opened 9 pull requests. So we can open one of them that went through. So that's everything Renovate did. It changed the version number. And if it's a small version change, it usually runs through, and that's about it. But what about the use case where you try to upgrade from version 2 of Quarkus to version 3? Who knows what changed in Quarkus 3? I mentioned it earlier today. It was among things, it was the namespace changed, the kata. Yeah? So we only changed the version, and of course this cannot work because the namespaces have changed totally. And we can look at the build. And there you have it, package JavaX doesn't exist. So what to do? Manual fixes. Take a week off, fix everything. No, in this CI/CD pipeline, it automatically detects a failing branch, and it automatically detects the feature branch name. And we encoded the dependency, in our case Quarkus, and the version from and the version to in our feature branch name. So OpenRewrite knows which dependency branch in this case failed and what we tried to do. And it tries to automatically use the right recipe. So who knows OpenRewrite? Let's start there. OpenRewrite is a tool that uses recipes, essentially scripts, to automatically change code, everything text-based, with the help of a visitor pattern. So it runs through a code, tries to find certain patterns, and changes the code accordingly. So if it finds lines of code where it knows, okay, here is something that changed in the Jakarta namespace, it automatically changes these lines of code. But it needs to know what we were doing, because you cannot simply run every script there is. It would take forever, and it probably wouldn't work. So you have to run the right scripts. And what I did here is, with the feature branch name, I can actually encode the dependency I wanted to upgrade, the version from and the version to. So Quarkus version 2 to version 3, and automatically choose the right recipes, the right scripts to update my code. So let's go in this feature branch up there. That's actually the OpenRewrite feature branch. And when we look at the files change, we say the same commit with the version number. Actually, this commit wasn't Renovate. It's a completely independent feature branch. That's a feature branch that OpenRewrite opened for us. And we see the code changes that OpenRewrite made for us. So that's a simple use case. It's just replacing JavaX with Jakarta. Not every occurrence of JavaX, as you maybe know. Yeah? It's about 90% of all JavaX, JavaX namespaces were changed to Jakarta, but not all of them. So you cannot simply search and replace. But that's actually a pretty simple use case. I'll show you a bit more in a minute. But think about 20 million lines of code. It would run through in about 20 minutes. Okay, but let's look at our feature branch. It still failed. Okay, changed behavior. We have still a failing test. And that's the point where I would need a development environment of this project, of this application, which I don't have. And I don't want to do it. Whoever tried to enter a new project and need infrastructure and everything you need to do and actually commit in the repository, it may take 1 week, 2 weeks to get access. I want to do it now. Okay, so that's how are we going to do it? We integrated Red Hat Dev Spaces. So essentially, Red Hat Dev Space is a tool that is a container-based development environment, and we have a choice of Visual Studio Code, or we can use IntelliJ. In our case, we use a container of Visual Studio Code. The IntelliJ version is in developer preview, so it doesn't run stable at the moment, so I'm still using Visual Studio Code. But about next year, I guess, we can show this in IntelliJ actually. And it's important to know everything runs in the container of your customer or your application, for example. So you don't have to check out the repository outside of the intranet of the customer. I don't have to use a VPN. Everything is on-premise or on the cloud of the customer. So this container actually is in AWS, but you wouldn't know. You could run it on OpenShift on your on-premise installation of your customer. So this takes a minute to start up. if the demo gods are kind to me today. Okay, while this starts up, I can show you the second use case. Here I have a log4j empty repository. I triggered Renovate 20 minutes ago, so let's refresh that. And here we have a version upgrade from log4j 1 to 2, and the Maven coordinates changed completely. So the group ID changed, and that's actually a problem in real life, because until a year ago, I think, Renovate didn't detect it. So if you were on log4j 1 and were thinking, okay, I'm on the current version, 1.2.17, that's actually the last version of 1, and actually it moved to different group ID. But Renovate now is intelligent enough to detect this and says, okay, we're moving from artifact group ID log4j to Apache logging log4j core. So that's all automated. That's no monkey business. And that alone doesn't suffice, because also here some things change between log4j 1 and 2. And we can go back to the feature branches. And that actually runs through after OpenRewrite was done with it. Let's look at the changes. So actually, we need 2 dependencies. So the OpenRewrite script knew that we need 2 dependencies and added the dependency by itself, not only the version. Also, the namespaces changed, of course, here. And what actually is pretty nice, it also has a feature or a script that it applies certain best practices. So how you would log with log4j. So what you can do actually is, if you have certain best practices you want to enforce in your project, but you want to refactor it but not manually, you could code your best practices into an OpenRewrite recipe and run through your complete code base. So it's not only for refactoring code that changed your version upgrade, you can do anything you want. You can, for example, if you have YAML files to configure your infrastructure, and you have a change in your infrastructure, and you need to update, I don't know, 2 million YAML files in a large enterprise. You don't want to do it by hand, you can do it with OpenRewrite. So don't only think of it like a Java-based refactoring tool for version upgrades. You can do anything you want with it as long as text-based. Okay, let's go back to the dev space. So this is our Visual Studio Code environment, and I want to simply clean install everything and look where the error comes from. You can probably not read what I'm doing, so let's enhance that. Okay, I run a task, and these tasks are set up for this project for us. So you would set up this Visual Studio Code environment. You can put a database in it. You can do an Angular front end on it. You can do a message broker on it. Whatever you want, whatever you need, you can configure it to this IDE. And in our use case, it's very simple, but we use this in much larger projects. And the clue is, if you have a high fluctuation of developers, for example, you don't have to or you don't want to invest in high capable development computers. You can do it server based, and you don't only use the client connection. Okay, so I have a dev file that has a task to run clean install. Let's do that, and as you can see, there's also a bash implemented in it. Okay, there we have our test failure. Let's check out this failing test. Okay, this cannot work. Let's fix this test. Run it again. Well, there you have it. We can look at our GitHub. There we have our change. We can commit this with this container-based IDE, and we're done. But before we do that, I want to show you OpenRewrite a little bit more in detail, because at this point I only showed you that it works. It was all automated in the background, so it could all be faked, of course, but it isn't, and I can prove it. So I'll run it manually. So essentially, it's just Maven to call it. Yeah? So a Maven profile, rewrite. Oh, pardon me. Rewrite run. And what I configured in this Maven profile is that it now will try to upgrade from JUnit 4 to JUnit 5. Whoever did a migration from JUnit 4 to 5 of you? Was it fun? What were the hurdles? So there you have namespace changes in the imports. You have, what else? So it actually isn't fun, and it's also, again, it's a lot of work if you have a large project or a large number of microservices you have to apply to. So, but it's a great showcase to show you. Now we are going to change a lot more than just Jakarta namespace. So of course, the first thing is we don't need our JUnit 4 dependency anymore. So it automatically removed the dependency in our POM, and we have a showcase test file I can show you. So you have the namespace, the path changed, the annotations changed, but also this you can do with search replace. It's tedious, but you could do it. But how about this? You know about expected exceptions in JUnit? Yeah? In JUnit 4, you had this in the test annotation as an expected clause. Now you have this lambda where you have to put it. And if you try to do it with a regex, for example, a search replace with regex, to fix this automatically. Yeah. So that's more black magic in actually. And again, what about this change? It removed the public. It's now package private. There's a best practice that says a test shouldn't, and the test method or test class shouldn't be public. It should be package private. But our developers didn't know that. They made it public. So you can enforce this best practice with OpenRewrite by having a recipe that says it shouldn't be public. It should be practice package private. And there you have it. Okay. So what did we do? We changed our versions. We did some automatic code changes. We did some manual code changes in the cloud. That everything works like a charm. But now we have to prove that we did something with it. We made the application a little bit better. And this I'm doing with dependency track. Who knows dependency track? That's great. Who knows dependency track? Okay. Essentially, it shows you about the security level of the application. And I'm not going into detail today about dependency track, but as you can see here, you have your let's say, level of or amount of CVEs, so cyber risks that are exposed. And if you do your updates regularly, what you will see is that the exposure goes down, ideally to 0. But of course, new zero-day exploits are coming every day, and so the curve goes up if you stop. So I can show 2 things here. First of all, things get better if you do it on a regular basis, but the moment you stop, it gets worse again. And that's a very, very cool tool to prove to your product owner and your value-based stakeholders that you're actually doing a good thing when you're doing technical modernization. Okay, that's the things for me. Any questions?
So I have a question about the OpenRewrite. You said you have to write the recipes. Are there some defaults already, or do I have to write everything myself?
OpenRewrite is a open source project by Moderne. So if you have an issue that anyone in the world already had, there's probably already an OpenRewrite recipe there for download. So when you're trying to migrate from Hibernate 5 to 6 or doing the Jakarta upgrade, that's all there. That you can look it up at Moderne and just use the script.
They have some sort of database for that, or?
Pardon me?
They collect those at their website, or
yeah,
is
yeah.
there?
They collect it, yeah.
Okay, I don't have to Google 20,000 websites.
Actually, the Google search is better than the Moderne search engine, so it's better to Google it, but you still land at Moderne homepage or landing page. But essentially, you Google a problem, you Google the dependency in the context, and you get to Moderne and you get to the recipe. But please, if you have a use case that wasn't already there, recontribute it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Since there is probably no other question, thank you, Ludwig,
Thank you.
for the presentation, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.